All right. Tough pod on Sunday. Wasn't my favorite activity, but I am decked out in maroon and orange and ready for another week of Virginia Tech football. Pat, I figured we just start with a little bit of a therapy session. How you doing? The reason I'm doing this is first of all, I want to thank everybody commenting on the YouTube channel. We got over 75 comments. Wow. We absolutely love the conversation. Just incredible. Some of you must be absolute gluttons for sadness. Numbers are through the roof following this Rutgers game. Shout out to a lot of people from New Jersey that chimed in. Rutgers fans were nice in the comments, actually. Rooting for you the rest of the season. Really enjoyed your game day atmosphere. Thanks for coming. Loved having you. So I got a comment from Tenacious B 1509. He says, "You guys are such dramatic queens. Does your next breath depend on VT football wins? Geez." To answer your question, yes, it does. I am not putting us or any content creators on a pedestal. You know, we don't have the benefit of simply turning it off and not thinking about it until Friday. We love talking about it, but there are some times that we don't love talking about it. And Sunday was one of those times. Tough scene.
Might I chime in as well?
Please.
It is Miami Hate Week, so it is appropriate for us to be a little bit hateful on the show. And I'm just going to comment that the guy who commented that on our video, I clicked on his profile, he is a UVA fan, which means that he is a huge loser who probably has never cared about a football game in his entire existence. So, ipso facto, I appreciate the engagement. And I know Billy Ray did too. I think both of us actually did comment back on the guy.
And when we say loser, you've lost a lot of football games, so you've gotten used to it. We've lost a lot of football games, but not to you. So respectfully, fan harder.
Fan harder, my boy.
That's all we're.
Some of us are built different.
Do you want to? I think some shout outs are in order for us recording on Sunday.
Yeah. No, that was good. Like I feel like we just got ahead of it, you know?
No, I'm not asking to shout ourselves out. I'm asking to shout out the man who made it happen. We're not giving ourselves a pat on the back here.
No, I know it happened. At Joshua Jenkins, who is a proud member of the Section 5 Club. Guys, listen. We do listen to advice if we think it's good advice. That's taking our Section 5 Club survey, looking at the feedback, and saying, hey, let's implement this. So we did record on Sunday. It was on the feed Sunday night, and we appreciate all the engagement. We appreciate you, Joshua Jenkins, for making it happen.
He said, hey, if you don't record by my drive to work on Monday, I'm not going to listen. We said, all right, we want to be in your car ride, so we will acquiesce your request. Let's look, we got Miami. They're coming into town. They're really good. Really good. But before we dive into it, Pat, let's get going with the Hokey haiku.
Oh, so I get to read the haiku. This is from our guy Spartacus Jones. Has a great Twitter account. There were a lot of haikus this week. Hat tip for all the submissions. I think when the vibes get a little bit better, we'll read multiple haikus, and maybe we'll even write some of our own. But we got to earn those. The Hokies need to win on Saturday or Friday or whenever we're playing to earn multi-haikus. Hokies face tough test. Miami's might, a challenge looms. Pride fuels every play. I think I got 3 texts this week. Russ Mitchell, Ross Browdy, and John Cran all texted us separate haikus. I mean,
I am going to read my dad's because his was pretty impressive. Whirlwind claws the field. Feathers torn, the storm feasts fast. Gridiron falls silent. I mean, that sounded like something you'd read out of like an Edgar Allan Poe like coffee table book. Really?
Was that haiku? Was that haiku GPT? I mean, gridiron falls silent. I guess not. It could not have been a GPT because that's 6 syllables.
Yeah, it is.
So
He tried.
I know the apple doesn't fall far when it has to do poetry, but that was a good poem, minus the structural error.
Hokey history. And look, I think it's worth mentioning at the beginning of the Hokey history just how much of an abhorrent job the ACC did in the beginning of their restructuring of like the pod system, where, Pat, hold me honest, our recurring games, we had Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, and was it Carolina was the third team that we were going to play every single year? Who was the third team? It was Virginia. Virginia was the third team.
So we lost Carolina and we lost Miami.
Just a really, really dumb move by the ACC. But so glad they put Miami back on the schedule just in time for this year. But let's kick it with some Hokey history.
I want to say also, this has really been a bummer. This series has been a bummer for too long of a time. When Virginia Tech and Miami joined the ACC, like every single person in media, every single college football fan was like, oh, that's a hell of a rivalry moving from one conference to another. I'm not going to tell you it was like Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 for the SEC. But in 2004 standards, that was the parallel. Virginia Tech and Miami leaving the Big East, joining the ACC, Boston College following in 2005. But that was a huge story. Miami joining, playing Florida State every year in the ACC championship. That's what people were thinking about, how Miami and Florida State would be at the top of the conference. Virginia Tech would be a contender. Boston College might be a contender. But really at that point in time, people thought Florida State and Miami were going to play in the ACC championship every year. Never happened. Miami has 0 ACC championships. I still have a hard time just thinking how that's reality.
Tech is 2-7 in the last 9. And it's not like Miami has been world beaters. It does seem like, though, when we play them, it's before they lose their swagger. In 2017, they were just a good team in 2017. Really physical defense, good enough on offense to get it done. I actually, Pat, not to do hopscotch here, this is just kind of off the cuff. 2017, in my mind, is one of the games where we had a good team in 2017 and we just got physically like beat up. I don't remember the last time that I saw like a solid Virginia Tech team get it kind of looked like we were playing a team that was way better than us and we were still a pretty solid team. They were pumping noise in. They're, shout out to Josh Jackson for toughness. I mean, it seemed like he was getting lambasted on some plays out there. That was a tough watch. We had a lot of mojo coming into that game too.
We did. So did Miami. I think that was the week before or the week after Miami blew Notre Dame's doors off. They had us and Notre Dame back to back. 28-10 is what they beat us by. We picked them off 3 times too, which was crazy.
Was that Mark Richt's first year?
Braxton Berrios on that team. I think that might have been Mark Richt's first year. Definitely early in the Richt tenure. That was the last time this game really was a high-profile game.
I think it was Mark Richt's last year because I think Manny Diaz got fired after 2016. Nope, that's wrong. Mark Richt was coaching in 2016. 2015 was the last year before Richt. So
Manny Diaz came after.
Man, I loved. Came after who?
Richt.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Manny Diaz. Al Golden. They look the same. They kind of look the same.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. They're both short, kind of shtickish. I think in my mind, they're similar.
This is not. You're going to have to fact check yourself because I'm not going to look this up. Please tell me the heights of both of these guys while I'm reading through some Hokey history. But I want to give a shout out, and I guess this is an annual shout out or whenever this game is played, to Dwight Vick, who really knows what this rivalry means more than the average Hokey fan that has become a Hokey fan, in the last 10 years. Virginia Tech and Miami, this was the Big East rivalry. Tech never beat Miami until 1995, and this was our third game in 1995 where we started out 0-2. Tech beats Miami for the first time ever, 13-7. Lauren Johnson makes a big play in the end zone to win the football game. And this was 1995 is a big time year in Virginia Tech lore. Without that win over Miami, who knows what happens the rest of the season. But Tech does go undefeated the rest of the season and beats Texas in the Sugar Bowl, one of the most historic Virginia Tech victories of all time. I mean, we won 5 in a row. Yeah. 95, 96, 97, 98, and 99. It was all Hokies for 5 years in a row. And this Miami team, this was, the top 10 Miami 1990s team. 1999 destroyed them in November, 43-10. Michael Vick domination. A big game in Miami Virginia Tech lore is an unfortunate one. I talked about 2-point conversions on the Rutgers post-game pod. I forgot to mention the Ernest Wilford 2-point conversion mishap in the south end zone. This is the 2001 Miami team. Many folks talk about this being the best college football team of all time. I mean, you want to talk about just NFL at every single position. That was 2001 Miami. They beat us 26-24. We had a dropped 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter. This was the Brandon Manning punt block touchdown. Many say the loudest Lane Stadium has ever gotten. Was that?
Oh my gosh. 38 draft picks off of that 2001 Miami team. Not 38 NFL players, 38 draft picks on that 2001 Miami team. That's almost half of the 85-man roster.
That's incredible. 2003, Virginia Tech ranked number 10, licking our wounds after losing to West Virginia the week before. Miami comes to town. Tech beats Miami 31-7. You had defensive touchdowns. You had just pure domination, all maroon everything, the Terror Dome. Miami was riding like a 39 regular season game winning streak. You had Eric Green's pick 6. You had give it to me, Roscoe, give it to me. I think Kevin Jones had a nice touchdown that night. A lot of people also describe that game as the loudest game in Lane Stadium history. I think just from 60 to 0-0-0. I don't know if there's anything that can confront that piece of information. Like, that's when I think of loud games in Virginia Tech history. I wasn't even there, but from firsthand accounts or secondary accounts. 2004, first ACC championship ever for Virginia Tech. Tech becomes the de facto ACC champion by defeating Miami 16-10 in Miami Gardens. Eddie Royal gets hit on a long touchdown from Brian Randall to clinch it. Tech is Sugar Bowl bound. Don't want to talk about 2005. 2007 destroyed them and destroyed Florida State in November. So that was pretty cool. It's 2007, special season in Virginia Tech lore. But the fact that we beat Bobby Bowden for the first time ever and just crushed Miami 44-14 in Lane Stadium was a special, special month. 2009, this is the Ja'Cory Heisman campaign. Quickly was nipped in the bud. September 2009 was a special month for Tech. We beat Miami and we beat Nebraska, both at home, both ranked teams. 2019 was special, but it's like a monsoon game, 31-7. 31-7. Virginia Tech destroys Ja'Cory Harris. Blocked a punt that day. Had a defensive touchdown. Just pure class from the Hokies.
Kind of similar vibes to 2016 UNC. A lot of Heisman hope, torrential downpour, just absolutely dog walk you. I mean, that's fun.
Played some good offense too. Ryan Williams had It was coming. The rain was coming down so hard. Those jerseys just looked so soaked. We destroyed them. Tyrod drops back and hits Jarrett Boykin, and you could just tell like how slippery it was out there. Like you had to throw a lollipop. 2010, Ryan Williams goes for like a huge, I think 2 huge touchdown runs that game. Tyrod had an epic game. Logan Thomas comes in because Tyrod gets hurt for a play. Logan Thomas delivers a dart on 3rd and long to Danny Cole. Danny's helmet gets popped off. 31-17 victory for Tech on our way to winning the ACC in 2010. I think this is the second to last win we're going to talk about here. Because it's been tough. It's been a tough go against Miami. The Logan Thomas game, 4th and 1, 4th and Logan. Logan Thomas up the gut. Now Miami wants to talk about it. You got Mike Patrick on the call. This is 2011. This is one of the better football games that's ever been played in Lane Stadium. 6 seconds left. Who's their quarterback at this time? Was it Stephen Morris, maybe? I forget who it was, but he hits Lamar Miller, who had gashed us all game. Super talented back, number 6. Lamar Miller comes around the corner. Alonzo Tweedy makes the tackle. Lane Stadium goes crazy.
The zoom out. It was like cinema. If Twitter and Instagram were around at that point, it would have been like it would have been on the timeline forever. It was real. It's on the timeline a good amount now, but it is an awesome moment. That footage is better than the footage of us running out against UNC in 2021.
I got to tell you, that is like the YouTube, like, hey, like that is like the YouTube highlight of Virginia Tech, or it was for several years. And I could even listen, man, I'm kind of on my game. I'm kind of in my bag right now.
You really are.
I think we might just do the quick screen share. Like, this is the video that we're talking about. I don't even know if you can hear the volume.
They have not managed the clock very well.
You hear that?
Yep.
Say that to Ja'Cory Harris, but if he can't find anybody open, he
Oh, so it's Ja'Cory Harris.
Let me tell you,
Was Ja'Cory Harris?
This crowd, that makes the task of Al Golden and Ja'Cory Harris that much more difficult.
Wait, there's the screen grab of this was like the oh shit, like we're not going to win this football game. Look, 5 seconds left. Hokies up 3.
If I had a lot of times, if I'm bringing somebody to Tech for the first time, I'm sending them this video. Let's get it down. We don't want any copyright on the YouTube strike here, but it is an all-time out. Just incredible work.
All right, you want to see the zoom out? Do you want to see the zoom out? I already hit stop.
Yeah. 2016, absolute sack fest. I just remember Brad Kaya was just straight up not having a good time that entire football game. And
Woody Barron, Trayvon Hill, like we had a couple cool interceptions. Gerard had a great night. This was a Stephen Peoples, Sam Rogers trick play, touchdown, a la Malachi Thomas. Like,
were we right? That was all maroon. We didn't wear the metallic helmets that game, correct?
No,
I can't remember.
No.
A couple games that I always mention. Well, actually, one game that I always mention that was a bummer was my first season at Tech. We hosted Miami on a Thursday night, lost 30-6. That was the Duke Johnson game. He had like a punt return touchdown. He had a kick return touchdown. He had 249 yards rushing. It was unbelievable. That was a game. I'll ask you, Pat, like, do you think that game was when you knew that we probably weren't going to get back to where we were in the heyday? Like, was there a specific game in like 2013, 2014, 2015 where you were like, okay, like we're not going to get back to where we were under this regime?
That was definitely a wake-up call, getting beat by 24 to your rival at home with like Logan Thomas was like the guy going into that year too. I guess going into 2013 in general. Like we had him for his senior year.
Oh no, this is Brewer, 2014.
Shoot, you're right.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, we had, it was when you have your backup quarterback in at the end and just trying to muster up some points. Like,
Where we only scored our 6 points. Mark Leal to Isaiah Ford with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Tough. One other game.
Did we miss the extra point or did we go for 2? Like, what?
I think we went for 2. Incomplete to Bucky Hodges. And then one game that I think gets glossed over a little bit is 2013. I know that 2013 was a bit of a forgettable year. But in November, Virginia Tech goes down to Miami and wins 42-24 over the 11th ranked Hurricanes on the road. We had 549 yards of total offense. Trey Edmonds had 4 touchdowns. AJ Hughes forced a fumble. Miami was wearing smoky gray uniforms. I remember watching this because I was committed at the time. Pat, you were saying we won 2 big road games in that year. What was the other one?
We beat
in 2013.
Duke might have been ranked. I just remember crushing a Red Baron pizza with Connor Baker after that dub.
So, a lot of history. 2020, we had the COVID game. We were there.
Oof.
You had a crazy beard. But yeah, not a lot of positive as of late. So, diving into the storylines, Pat, let's talk about 2024 and when the schedule first comes out. What's the reaction? Week 5, Miami on the road. Kyron's out there, training with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and you're like, man, they're going to see each other. They're doing podcasts talking about the game coming up. And you're like, this is the game. This is the game. We're going to be 4-0 in September. Can we have a perfect September? That was the chatter before the season started.
This was definitely going to be one of the top 5 games in the ACC this year. This was definitely the Josh Pate, Ramen Noodle Express. Like, he'd be jumping on Friday night. I guess that's Friday Night Lions. We're really deep in that brand. It's supposed to be one of the best games of the year in the ACC. That doesn't mean it still can't be, but this, I thought it was going to be a ranked matchup, and it's not going to be. This is more so Miami coming in and saying, first conference game, they got through conference play unscathed. I've said it a handful of times, 52 points per game offensively, which we've scored 52 one time in like the last 5 years, and it was against Virginia. So is Virginia Tech a test for Miami? That's what we're going to find out. Like, Miami beat Florida week 1. They crushed them. Absolutely crushed them in Gainesville. We know that Florida is not Urban Meyer Florida. Florida right now might as well be Florida State.
Yeah.
They might as well be Florida State. They are not the class of the SEC. They're 1-1 in the SEC with only 1 victory, and it was Mississippi State, who is like the Vanderbilt of the SEC. Like, they're not formidable.
No.
They also beat Ball State. They beat USF. And who was the other team they played?
Florida A&M.
Okay, yeah, FAMU. So this is the first time Virginia Tech or Miami is going to play an ACC opponent this year. Miami has never won the conference. Miami has been to 1 conference championship game ever since 2004, since joining this conference. Like, this is year 21 in the conference. The target is on their back right now. Like, Clemson showed us who they were early in the year against Georgia. Obviously, like, they scored 70 last week. They're probably going to be, if Miami's 1A, Clemson's 1B right now in the conference. But
I was waiting to see how you were going to finish that sentence.
I don't want to play Clemson right now. But it's college football. So Miami hasn't been tested. How different is this Miami team We got a Friday conference game. First of all, I don't think we've ever played Miami on a Friday night. And I know that a lot of Friday games are happening in the ACC this year. You know why? Same with the Big Ten, by the way. We got Rutgers and Washington playing at the same time as our game on Friday. So get that second monitor.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you got UCLA, you got Washington, you got Cal, you got Stanford, you got Oregon, and you got SC, all joining these Eastern time zone and Central time zone conferences. So with travel, you got to have some Friday night games because guess what? Next week, Virginia Tech goes out to Stanford. And guess who also goes out to San Jose / San Francisco? Miami is playing at Cal next Saturday. But you got to think, Billy Ray, like Miami is looking at this schedule. They've already handled Florida. Virginia Tech is not the Virginia Tech that they thought they were going to get at the end of September. And then they also have the annual Florida State game, which if I'm Miami, I'm feeling pretty good about that game right now. Other than going to Louisville, the rest of the Miami schedule looks so easy. You're going to Cal, they host Florida State, they host Duke, they go to Atlanta to play Georgia Tech, they host Wake Forest, and they go and finish up the season at Syracuse.
Yeah, to this point, the most talented teams that are on the schedule are, and this is results aside, are going to be us, Louisville, and Florida State remaining on their schedule in terms of just pure raw talent. Florida State is a bad football team. Cal, above average. Louisville, I don't think they're very good, but they have shown to be very good. So this is a pretty crucial stretch for them these next 3 or 4 weeks because that back half looks pretty good.
It does suck that they have to go to Louisville and they have to go to Syracuse.
And Cal.
And even Cal.
Yeah.
Cal's had a tough time with Florida teams.
Mm-hmm.
You know? The Newsom versus DeSantis battle. You can chalk one up for DeSantis right now. We'll see what happens next weekend, though. We got a Youngkin DeSantis battle here on Friday night. What are the other storylines?
Yeah, I just thought this was interesting. Kyron Shador and Cam Ward trained together all summer in Miami. They're very close. I did think there was I watched Cam Ward's press conference. I think it was today or yesterday. And some reporter asked Cam Ward if he had talked to Kyron. And I know people are going to pick this up and run with it and be like, ooh. And he kind of was just like, nope. And they were like, oh, okay. Your cousin, think you guys talk a lot? He's like, nope. He's like, all right. So Cam Ward's ready to play. That means Kyron hasn't talked to him either, allegedly. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be it's two quarterbacks who were talked about ad nauseum coming into the season. And look, we're gonna find out how good we are. I think that's where we sit. Overall, Miami, they're ranked 7th in the country. They're 4-0. They do have the 107th strength of schedule, but they have absolutely demoralized every single team that they've played. So let's talk about their offense. Averaging 52.2 points per game. That's good for 4th in the country. 605 yards per game. Cam Ward, as of right now, I looked this up, is the Heisman Trophy favorite. Plus 350. I did just put 25 to win 525 on Travis Hunter. I'm not giving financial advice, but I do think that that's good value. He has the second most passing yards in the country with 1,439. He has accounted for 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He has a 72% completion percentage. He has 11.7 yards gained per attempt and has the second highest QBR at 94.4 in the ACC. Second highest in the country. But this is a fun ACC fact. 3 quarterbacks in the ACC are top 10 in QBR: Ward, Klubnik, and King. Number 1 is Blake Horvath at none other than Navy. Go Navy, beat Army.
Is that possible?
Apparently. Question, Pat. Is this the best quarterback coming into the game that we have played since Deshaun Watson?
I would say this is definitely I mean, it depends. How do you rate Trevor Lawrence against Deshaun Watson?
That's a good call out. Both Heisman Trophy winners. One was played during a Mickey Mouse season. I just feel,
game.
yes, the sprinkler game. I just feel like there are way more eyes on Cam Ward than that. That might be recency bias, but I feel like it's one of the best quarterbacks that Virginia Tech has played in the last decade. Let's put it that way, in terms of his numbers and in terms of the attention that's on him and everything else. We just talked a ton about Cam Ward. You do have to talk about Xavier Restrepo. 20 catches, 362 yards, averaging 18.1 yards per catch and 5 touchdowns. They also have Horton, Brown, and George, who all have over 12 catches on the year and over 12 yards per catch. So, I mean, when you score 52.2 points per game, your stats are going to look pretty awesome. Confirmed, they look awesome. What about the running backs, Pat?
Formidable. They have not 3, 4 running backs who all have over at least 100 yards this year. Damian Martinez, Jordan Lyle, AJ Allen, and Mark Fletcher. Their leading rusher right now is Jordan Lyle, and he wears number 23, 6 foot 190. So he's not much of a running back build, not a short or stocky, but kind of looks more like me out there than he looks like, anyone who would suit up for Virginia Tech. I guess, who's the tallest Virginia Tech running back right now?
Oh man, we don't. Maybe Thomas. It's not Tootin.
I was going to say
the tallest Virginia Tech running back right now is Kyron Drones. I think he's 6'5". With the way that they run him.
I'm trying to think of tall running backs in Virginia Tech history. I feel like Josh Oglesby might have been tall. But Jordan Lyle, 6 foot 190, 29 rushes, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns with a long of 91. AJ Allen, wears number 28, 5'11", 186. Also kind of tall for a running back.
Pretty sure that run for 91 was the longest run in Miami history, too. It was either the longest run in Miami history or the longest run at that stadium.
AJ Allen is averaging 8.4 yards per carry, 17 rushes, 143 yards and a touchdown, long of 56. Mark Fletcher, number 4. He's a bigger guy, too. 6'2", 225.
Gosh, dude.
21 carries, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5.7 yards per carry. And Damian Martinez, who has 40 rush attempts for 190, 4.8, 4 rushing touchdowns. How do you have so many running backs
around 6 foot tall
who are large dudes? Yeah, Damian Martinez is also 6 foot 232. Like, where did this come from? Because I don't remember. I mean, you could talk about who are some good running backs in Miami. Willis McGahee,
Duke Johnson,
Tyrone Moss,
Frank Gore.
It's been a while since like an elite one, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who's the elite one in this stable of stallions, to quote a Billy Height reference,
but they all look pretty good. Billy Height, good alliteration.
That's not alliteration.
Whatever. If you didn't say anything, it might have went over well. The biggest difference to me with this Miami team from last year is they completely reworked their defensive front and their offensive line. They are a extremely well-oiled machine up front. Big dudes, did some work in the transfer portal. So they have a good unit. Talking about their defense, they're giving up 10.2 points per game, which is good for 11th in the country. Through 4 games, they have the most sacks in the country, 16. I just fear this is a name we're going to hear a lot on Friday. His name is Tyler Barron. Yes, he's Woody Barron's brother. He leads the team in sacks with 4.5, which is good for third in the ACC. He started his career at Tennessee. He is now a fifth-year senior at Miami. I am not looking forward to our tackles going against Tyler Barron. Just not looking forward to that exercise. Special teams. I saw this guy's name listed, and I literally was like, I can't believe he's still in college. Bora Gallus. It seems like he's been there forever. It seems like Miami kicker, and he's only been there for 3 years before this one, so this is his true senior year. It just seems like they always have the same kickers. They had that tattooed Australian punter that they had forever.
Lewis Henley. Yeah.
It just seems like they've had the same, their kicker consistency has been off the charts. Bora Gallus, pretty good. Lifetime 83.6 on field goals. He's 5 of 8 from 50 yards out. And he's 21 of 21 on extra points. Who cares? Why are we talking about extra points? Well, it's because they've scored 21 touchdowns in 4 games. And I'm just reiterating that is a whole lot of touchdowns. So it's going to be 83 degrees, 80% humidity. There might be thunderstorms.
There's a tornado, or not a tornado. There's a tropical storm hitting the Gulf. So Miami's on the East Coast, Atlantic coast, but there's a storm coming in. Tropical storm Helene. I saw they called it a cyclone.
Maybe what is the like Hispanic word that they have for rain? An El Nino.
Yeah.
An El Nino.
Yeah.
Look, Miami's really good. They're really, really good. I'm not talking like might contend for the conference good. I'm talking about might be playing for a national championship good. And, a lot of people, when they view this game or they talk about Miami, they say, well, Miami always comes in with big expectations. They let you down. 2 things that are different about this Miami team are, number one, they have a bona fide baller that plays quarterback for them. And number 2, right now we're doing the Miami. This season so far has been a Hokey bird wearing a stork or flamingo or whatever animal Miami wears. So, let's talk about keys to the game. What am I excited to watch? I did just say that I was not excited to watch Woody Barron and those defensive ends go against our tackles. I am excited to watch our defensive backs versus their wide receiver. Our defense is giving up 160 yards a game in the air. So I'm excited to watch that matchup. Can we just find something offensively? I actually think defensively, I have a lot of respect for our defense. Barring like our offense turning the ball over a ton, I do think that we can. I'm not saying stay close, but I'm saying that I don't think Miami's just going to run 60 points on us or run 50 points on us. I have too much respect for our defense, to be quite honest. This to me comes down to, can our offense do something? And the biggest question marks that I have are our preparation and our health. I don't know what Ollie Jennings' status is. I know Bashal Tutin is banged up. I know he finished the game last week. I hope he can play in this game. Really would not want to watch this game if he's not playing. But can we find something? Did we learn something over these 4 weeks that we can exploit, that we feel like we're good at, that we feel like we can adjust to? It really comes down to, can the offense produce points, and can the offense give the defense a second to catch their breath? If this is a game where our offense is on the field for 20 minutes of the game, it will get ugly. If this is a game where the offense is turning the ball over, it will get ugly. But I do think if there's something that can keep us in the game, it is our defense. So that's it.
It's going to be a serious test for Virginia Tech's offense and Virginia Tech's running game in particular. How deep is this running back room? Like, if Tutin is vulnerable, obviously, I hope he's healthy. I hope he starts. I hope he gets 20 carries. If he doesn't, do we have faith in Malachi Thomas? Do we have faith in PJ Prelo, Tyler Mason, Jeremiah Coney, any guys who can help us run the football. Because if we can't establish the run game early in this football game, it could get really, really, really ugly. And Miami's rushing defense is formidable.
How long can you keep Cam Ward on the sideline? That really is what it comes down to. If Cam Ward's on the sideline, they're not going to score as many points as they would if he was on the field. So again, like putting on the orange and maroon glasses, Miami's played nobody. Rutgers also played nobody before playing us, but they have played nobody. This is the most talented team that they have played to date. And I keep saying talented because we haven't played up to our potential. So can Virginia Tech play up to their potential, and can we do anything offensively? Those are my keys to the game. I guess they're not even keys. They're just questions.
It's definitely the biggest component of how Virginia Tech can be competitive here. But Miami's allowing 2.47 yards per rush. That's good for 6th in the country. 64.8 yards per game. Bashal Tootin, like this is, I hate just saying it. So much of the offense is going to rely on how well he plays, but we need him. We need. Say your prayers before you go to bed tonight and pray for his lower body, because if he's playing, he's going to take some hits, but also we need him as healthy as possible for Saturday. If we can get him going, if we can get our rushing attack going, that's going to open up the game for Kyron Jones. That's going to raise Kyron's confidence level. Don't know how hostile this environment's going to be honest with you. Like, it's a Friday night. It's a little bit different. Saturday night in 2017, that was one of the loudest experiences I've ever had on the road, which might shock some of you guys. But if you were at that game in 2017, like, they have it set up where, like, the plexiglass from Hard Rock contains a lot of noise. I don't think they really pump in that much noise. At least they didn't that night. But that's the one thing I have that was a takeaway from that night, was how loud it was. So we'll see, but we need to make sure that, one, we can score early or just control the tempo of the game with running the football. And two, don't turn the football over. Pete B, stat guru.
He crushes these, dude.
He said on Saturday the Hokies had 3 actual turnovers, 2 fumbles, and 1 interception. We also turned it over on downs 2 times, and we had a safety, which essentially equals 6 turnovers. All caps, 6 turnovers. And we had the football game tied in the 4th quarter. If this team wasn't such a sloppy mess, we would have won the game easily. I agree with all those points. I also know that Rutgers probably would say the same thing about their offensive performance, but you need to hold on to the football on Friday.
Benny's lines. Anyone with a game day pin at home games gets $1 off their slice. We did see some Rutgers fans rocking Beat Virginia Tech pins, which I thought was interesting. So this line opened at 17.5. It's up to 20. Pat, can you remember the last time we were 20-point favorites I'll even open it up to group of 5 games. When was the last time we were 20-point favorites? It's been a minute. Not this year, not last year.
Wofford?
Maybe.
We're probably like 24-point favorites.
I can't remember the last time we were 20-point favorites against a conference team. We were like 3-point favorites against UVA last year.
I don't even remember if we covered against Wofford.
Yikes. So
it's 19.5 right now in DraftKings. Okay. Over under is 55. Hokies money line is plus 700.
The Grant Watson over-unders from last week, drones total touchdowns, 2.5. That went under. Hokies turnover forced, 0.5 over. Monungai rushing yards, 99.5. That went under. If I would have just read that before the game, I would have thought we won. But alas, we did not. Here are Grant Watson's over-unders for this week. I'll go first. Miami, points scored, 38.5. Again, I just have too much respect for our defense. If Virginia Tech cannot turn the ball over, I do think we hold them under this number. I really want to avoid. I'd love to win the game. I would double love not to have this be one of those things where like people are out at a bar in like Alabama or Oregon or Iowa and they pull up Bleacher Report and they're like, oh my God, did you see what Miami did to Tech on Friday? I want to just avoid that. So I'm going to go under.
It's really hard to pick this without knowing how we're going to run the football.
That's
It's really like, hey, how many times is Miami going to get the football in their hands?
It's not even like this line to me. I'm not even thinking about our defense. I'm not trying to say that we're the, steel curtain Steelers, but I'm saying that the defense has done a solid job, especially in the red zone, that I think they're actually going to play pretty well in this game. It just depends on how long we're going to ask them to be on the field. How often is Miami going to have a short field?
Yeah. Again, I'm actually going to go over here just from looking at the numbers. I mean, they're putting up 52 a game. They went into the swamp and scored 41.
Mm-hmm.
They're really humming nicely.
Yeah.
And I've seen what a defense that is multifaceted, or what an offense that is multifaceted can do to our defense. So I'm going to take the over here, unfortunately.
Cam Ward, passing yards, 329.5. I'm looking at Cam Ward's numbers. 404 against USF, 346 against Ball, 304 against FAMU, and 385 against Florida. Granted, Cam Ward didn't have to throw the ball a whole lot in that game. I'm not even sure he finished all of these games because he didn't need to, because they were wiping the floor with some of these folks. I'm going to go under again. Our passing defense is giving up 160 yards per game. We have 2 NFL cornerbacks. We pressure the quarterback. My only gripe is we only pressure the quarterback, really. I'm not going to say only, but a lot of our pressures come in spurts and sometimes come when games are decided. I'm going to go under here as well.
I'm going to go under here because I think they just have such a nice balanced attack that, between one of the 4 backs that I mentioned earlier, like they'll probably be spreading the love a little bit.
And I'm going to round out my under with the Hokies' first quarter points, 3.5. I'm going under. I have no reason, based upon our sample size, to think that we will come out fast in this football game. I hope I am proved incorrect.
It is so funny. We didn't talk about Miami 2019 in Hokey history, did we? We didn't. We skipped over that. That was the Hendon Hooker, Dalton Keene, James Mitchell, Alan Tisdale throwing up.
Caleb Farley interception.
Jermaine Waller, like everyone.
Pre-game, we were feeling a lot like we are right now.
I went to get my car washed pre-game. I was like, hey, yeah, I'll catch you guys. I was late to the game watch. I was getting my car washed. I had better things to do. If we had just lost to Duke the previous Friday, 45-10, and then we came out so hot in that first quarter. Can we manifest that? I haven't seen anything to believe that. We have 4 games of data. We have 6? We have 240 minutes of data. So I'm going under here.
Before we get into score predictions, this has been a fun game that we've been doing. If you are watching right now, comment flamingo in the comments. Throw them in there. I was getting a bunch of texts and people are like, why are people commenting pineapple under your video? Why are people commenting raspberry? So we're going to go flamingo this week. Sticking with the Florida theme.
People are texting you that, and then you should have said, oh, sounds like you didn't.
Yes, you didn't listen to the pod all the way through.
Yeah. I think we're doing flamingo a little too early, so we'll do another secret word in about 15 minutes.
Score prediction. Oh, man. I rarely pick us to lose. I'm going to pick us to lose. I'm going to go 31-10. I think this is one of those football games where, at halftime, maybe it's like 7-10, 7-14, and you're kind of like, okay, all right, hanging in there. And I think that's how it ends. And I got to be honest, and this is sad to say, because the last couple of weeks we've been like, hey, if we win by this score, I'm going to feel okay. If we don't win by this many points, if we lose 28-10, the way that we look right now, I'm not going to sound like I did last Friday or this just past Sunday. So I'll go 28-31. I'm sorry, 31-10, and Hokies don't cover and they lose.
I think that there will be glimmers of hope in this football game, but it will not be 4 quarters of glimmers. It will be probably a first half and then the wheels fall off. That's what I predict to happen. Similarly to Ohio State 2015. I think we're going to be competitive. I don't know. I'm not telling you we're going to be leading at halftime, but I'm not telling you we're going to have any key injuries that derail the football game. It's not home, but I do think there will be points in this game where I'm going to turn to whoever I'm hanging out with and saying,
whoa,
we're competing.
Yeah.
We are competing in this football game.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to win this football game, but I think there will be some things that we hopefully can build on. Not going to be happy with another loss, but I'm going to project. Let's go with the same score from Ohio State 2015. I think it was 42-24. If we score 24 points, I'm not going to be happy. If we give up 42 points, not going to be happy. But hope it's close at halftime and we can keep it competitive. But yeah, tough.
Letters from the lunch pail. Brian Hanning. Our defense is 28th in passing yards allowed a game and 30th in havoc created. I think that's a wild stat name. It is a stat, though. Against Cam Ward, who has been turnover prone, I actually think we match up better than Miami than we did with Rutgers. I think this game is much closer than the majority of the fan base is expecting. Thoughts? Couple things. I somewhat agree with you. I do not agree that Cam Ward is turnover prone. He's thrown 133 touchdowns and he has 32 interceptions. Pretty good ratio. With that said, again, Miami's played Florida A&M, Ball State, and South Florida. Bad schedule so far. The Hokies have 2 losses by 3 points. Can we just play up to our talent level? If we play up to our talent level, I think we can be competitive in this football game. And I do agree, even though I predicted 28-10, I think there are a lot of Virginia Tech fans tongue-in-cheek. I mean, it was me on Saturday night. We're going to lose 70-12. We're going to lose. They're going to beat us by 90, which I think some people still do feel now. Again, I really like the Ohio State comp from you, Pat. I think it can be a similar play out where you go in kind of high-fiving and getting another nacho plate, and then the second half is a tough watch. I hope I'm wrong, but that I can totally see it working out that way.
I remember that halftime, it's burned into my memory, leaving the north end zone and going into the West Stands concourse and just being so fired up about potentially winning that football game.
Could be a lot like the Tennessee game. We'd have to come out hot.
No fumble.
Would have to come out hot, but okay.
Yeah. You want me to read the next one?
Yeah.
Shoot the puck. So many negative comments about the program this week. What are 3 things on the field Virginia Tech has to do against Miami to turn the season around?
I'm going to give you 4. Preparation is 1. Can we come out and look like we have a plan and execute it? We have 5 turnovers on the season. According to Pete B's math, which I agree with, it's 12.
Even with slow starts, too. I mean, 17-0 against Vanderbilt, 23-7 at home. against a team that beat us last year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where's prep?
Yeah. Discipline. I know I'm kind of saying that we're wearing like a Virginia Tech is dressing up like Miami early on in this season. It's true. Like from a discipline perspective, so many drive extending penalties, so many special teams blunders, just literally like handing points to your opponent. Like, can we stop doing that? Like, what would we look like if we stopped doing that? Probably better than right now. Alignment and assignment, gap integrity, and doing your job. When you are getting shredded by the option, which is the only way that ODU could move the ball, it's how Vanderbilt moved the ball, and it's how Rutgers moved the ball. If you're getting shredded by zone read options, that basically just means that people are not locked in on their keys. It may mean that a linebacker has to take the quarterback, but he's overcompensating because he doesn't know if the safety is going to make the tackle. It may be the defensive end giving up contain because he wants to make a play himself and he doesn't trust that the corner is going to fill. It may be a D tackle jumping out of his gap because he doesn't trust the linebackers to make a play. Everybody has to just do their job. And when you're getting yourself in bad situations against a zone read, an option, to me, that means that you don't trust the scheme, you don't understand the scheme, or you don't trust your teammates to make the play. And
Mose Phillips cannot lead the team in tackles.
No.
It's always the theme. It's always a theme on the preview.
I know. Intensity. Can we not come out sluggish? Like, again, I'll go back to the SpongeBob meme where it's like, it's okay, Rocky. You go when you feel like going. Well, here we are at the end of September. We've lost to Vanderbilt on the road in front of all of our fans. We lost to Rutgers at home. We were in a one-score football game against Marshall at home. And I guess we beat ODU on the road. In every single one of those games, we come out and look lackadaisical, slow start, take a quarter off. Could we just play 4 quarters of football and look like we're having fun playing football? This is what it's all about. You're one of the only games on television. You are in prime time at night against the top 15 team. That is top 10 team that's competing to go to the playoff. I said this last week. I'm still pissed about Vanderbilt and still pissed about Rutgers and certainly don't expect to win this football game. But if you want people to be bought back in and excited and happy and not look like the picture of Pat and I in section 129 that we tweeted earlier today, win the game.
I'm going to add another tally to the can this game be like X? Florida State last year. Remember how, I guess it was a slow start, but remember Tootin's kick return?
Yeah.
And how we were like, oh my God, we're back in this football game.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the breadcrumbs of hope that I'm looking for. I think too, Billy Ray, like, what do we need to do on the field to promise and show some promise for this season? Like, do you know we're tied for 10th in sacks?
No.
In the country? Yeah, we have 13 sacks already through 4 games. It's pretty good. Now APR had 4 in 1 week, kind of tilted the scales a little bit, but I think just get pressure on Cam Ward. Like, actually get pressure on Cam Ward. Make him feel that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like our defensive line, the sacks have kind of come in waves.
Yeah.
They haven't been on a consistent basis. They've been on back-to-back plays. And we need a Brad Kaya 8 sacks from our defensive line kind of night if we want to make an impact on the game, make him make poor decisions, and show some promise for the rest of the year.
Shout outs at the end of the game, at the end of the pod. Feels like a game. ACC attendance through 4 weeks. Virginia Tech is in second with 65,632. Man, we got a great fan base. They're really upset. Due for some happiness. And I do want to put this PSA out. I do have a wedding Friday night. Going to do my best to keep up with it. Probably going to rewatch the entire game Friday night, Saturday morning, not sure. But I will be making the trip to Clemson, South Carolina on Saturday, going to my first game in Death Valley. It's a night game against Stanford. Looking forward to that. And Pat, I think I told you, but I did just buy tickets to fly to Baton Rouge to go to the LSU Ole Miss game on our bye week. So those are two things football related that I am really looking forward to. A double dose of Death Valley. Gonna be pretty fun.
Dude, you're going to miss all the other games on our bye week.
That's fine. That's the one that I care to watch. So, I mean, that's it. I don't know if you've been following Lane Kiffin lately, but he's doing like get ready with me's in the morning with his daughter. I mean, Lane Kiffin, everybody's got an opinion. I think he's awesome. Yeah. I think he's pretty awesome. I mean, you know, I wouldn't want my son to act in the manner that he does sometimes, but my son would certainly keep me entertained and in a nice home with some bags of cash.
I'm sure Russ thinks you act like Lane Kiffin sometimes.
I'm sure he does, but he needs a reality check. Yeah, he needs a reality check. But
when you said I just bought tickets, I thought you were talking about something that we haven't even talked about on the show.
I did secure my tickets to the Metallica concert. I got to be honest, and I'm probably going to get shredded for this. When it first came out, I was like, that's really cool. It's not for me. Like, probably not going to go. And Juliana gets out of the shower and she's like, hey, did you get Metallica tickets for us? I said, no. She's like, oh, well, that sounds like something pretty awesome. I would have liked to go. And I was like, all right. So I literally went on YouTube and typed in Metallica concert, and there's this video. I'm really not like I don't listen to Metallica like all the time. I listen to Metallica on Saturday. They played this concert in Moscow, and it's like, it's just a sea of people. And I like talked myself into, if I'm not at this, I'm going to be upset that I missed it. So I am going in May as well.
You owe Jay Litt an apology.
I do. Wait, what did I say to Jay Litt?
I think he was gassing up. He was like, dude, it's a metal concert. Like, I know, like, I never thought a metal concert was going to be my cup of tea, but then I went to Germany, or he went to it in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Prague,
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
It was like the most incredible experience from a fan perspective, as far as the crowd, the vibes, the entertainment. So
yeah, I know that on the .com, who put it out? Brett Smith put out a guide to Metallica songs you should know before May 7th, 2025, not named Enter Sandman. So I will be checking that out. And then I know our guy Sam Jesse is doing an article on just metal concert expectations. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's not anything I ever thought I would have done. If they didn't come to Blacksburg, I'd probably never go to a Metallica concert. So I'm excited. I'm fired up.
It's once in a lifetime.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Metallica, back nine of their career, will probably never play in Lane Stadium again. I don't know how many concerts will come back to Lane Stadium. I would hope that it's an opportunity to open the door for maybe some country shows to come to Lane Stadium. If, Luke Combs wanted to come to Lane Stadium. I don't know. I know that this is a extremely unique experience.
I wonder what the field's going to look like after it.
Well, wouldn't they cover it?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. Maybe that is exactly how it went down in the athletic department. And they were like, well, they'll cover it. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess we can do this now. So anyway, if you're still listening, what should they comment?
If you're still listening, comment a Metallica song that's not Enter Sandman.
Great call. Any shout outs for you, Patrick, before we wrap this bad boy up?
I need this game to become a rivalry again. I grew up hating Miami.
Yeah.
And if you ask me right now, hey Pat, who do you hate the most? It's not Miami. You know?
I know who it is.
And
they're not on the schedule.
I want that back. Let's have fun out there on Friday night. To quote Phil Weston from Kicking and Screaming, second Kicking and Screaming reference in as many pods. Let's have fun.
Friday night, don't forget, set your TiVos accordingly. Get your couch set up accordingly. I'm going to go eat some pasta.
Hey, where should I go to dinner? Like something quick.
Go to Piata.
I don't think Piata's that good.
Okay. What about Yafo?
That's a better idea. That's a good idea.
Because I know you were thinking Cava or you were thinking Chipotle. Go off the beaten path a little bit. Do something different.
Yeah. I wouldn't have asked if I was thinking those two. So
there you go.
All right, everyone. Have fun. Enjoy the game. Be safe. Go Hokies.
Bet Travis Hunter, Heisman. 25 to win 525. Good money. Take care, everybody.